All right, I'm just going to start recording the session now, the meeting now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening on this special occasion, the first edition of True Talk with Sam. It's actually a monthly talk series that will be aired on a monthly basis. The idea is to bring knowledgeable personnel to come share information on how to settle in and adapt well in the UK. And we also invite some internationally educated nurses to come and share their lived experience. The aim is to empower our nurses, both those who are already here in the UK and are registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Council, and those who are willing to register with Nursing and Midwifery Council. As for today, we'll be having a really interesting topic, which is avoiding pitfalls and saving your NMC PIN. Basically, we understand many of us, most times, even proud to us coming to the UK, we've always heard about our NMC PIN, and how we should safeguard it. And I'm glad to have a master in that area to come talk to us today. And we'll be having the privilege to hear from Dr. Abbey Akinishun, who is actually a regulatory and employment law consultant, to do justice to this topic. And after his presentation, you all will have the opportunity of asking any question you have. Before I bring Dr. Abbey, I would just like to read a brief introduction about our guest speaker here today, so you really know who Dr. Abbey is. So Dr. Abbey is actually a mental health nurse who had his training from King's College in London. He also had his master's degree in psychology from the University of Sofia in Bulgaria. Dr. Abbey has worked in 5 big NHS trusts within London at a managerial level in different mental health settings, vis-a-vis forensic, acute, PICU, and low secure units, even learning disability, national psychosis service, with the experience of managing staff and patients, managing change, drafting policies, setting and improving standard, promoting carers and user involvement, managing budget, supporting staff, and managing poor performance. In 2006, Dr. Abbey was elected by registered nurses to represent England on the Executive Council of the Nursing and Midwifery Council, which is the NMC, where he used his position to influence major changes in the nursing profession and contributed immensely to the previous NMC Code, as well as the equality strategy developed by the NMC during his term of office. Dr. Abbey also contested to be the NMC president in October 2008, and an independent parliamentary candidate for Erith and Tesment constituency in London, and later contested in Greenwich constituency under Green Party in London. Dr. Abbey won an accolade for fighting racial discrimination in the workplace, presented by the former Deputy Commissioner of Police, John Griff, on behalf of the Metropolitan Police, and he later won our Heroes Community Champion Award by the South London Press for his voluntary work to fight injustice and harassment in the workplace. Since he has won several accolades both here in the UK and in Nigeria. In the year 2000, Dr. Abbey set up an advocacy service known as Employment Rights Representative and Advisory Services, ERRAS, which represents nurses, midwives, and other healthcare professionals at the NMC, SWE, HCPC, and other regulatory body. Dr. Abbey is known to be a fearless advocate, and he has won numerous cases for health professionals, and is very popular in the healthcare industry, and he's a multi-award winner. Please, I have the honor to introduce Dr. Abbey Akinishun to give us his presentation on this topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel, for that wonderful brief. First and foremost, I want to appreciate you for this initiative because it's very important in this country, to have this kind of platform where information could be shared, with our incoming nurses and with the old one who had already walked their journey. Some of the problems we've been having in this country, especially within our profession, is, that lack of awareness, lack of communication, lack of information. So, and that's why the first time you discussed this with me, I commended you for this great initiative because it will help, our people a lot, especially those nurses that have just arrived into the country. This is the way to go. Information sharing is very important. Communication is very important in the work we do, and that's the way we can support each other. That's the way we can lift each other up. So I want to say a big thank you to you again, Samuel, for this wonderful initiative. And I'm actually honored and privileged, to be invited to come and invite our fellow colleagues today. So I have a slide, I have slides, so to speak, that I will take you through. It's up to you, Samuel, the way you want to do it. I'm in your hands. If people want to be asking a question as we go along, or if they want to keep the question until the end, that's fine by me. But you are the moderator. You decide about what is right, and then we take it further from there. Okay. So let me just go to my slides now, and then just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, yeah, okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide, sir.
Okay, well done. So this is the topic we're going to discuss today. I believe some of the people on your forum, I believe they are registered nurses. Am I correct?
Yes, they're registered nurses.
Okay. And the reason why this topic is very important today, some of the things I'll be discussing with you, I've been representing nurses in the UK now over 15 years. My last job with the NHS was as a clinical services manager with the NHS. And that was my last job before I decided to set up this the advocacy services, whereby I'm now representing nurses. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because I want you to know that some of the issues I'll be discussing with you this evening, they are from some of the cases I've actually done for people. They are the experiences of over the years of how people have found them being referred to the NMC. So these are not the things that maybe probably I read in the book. No, those are really practical experiences that people have actually undergone by being referred to the NMC. So it's very important to actually listen to that, and it's very important to be able to ask questions as well when you are not clear. But as I said, most of the examples I'll be using, they are actually factual accounts of things that actually happened to our fellow colleagues, and that led to them being referred to our regulatory body, which is NMC. So let me move on. Why do we need the NMC code? Because the first thing I must ask a nurse is that if you want to practice safely in this country, you must have a thorough knowledge of the NMC code. It's very, very important. And I'm very sure all of you must have seen the code. That's it. That's the NMC code. This is the way it looks like. Without having the knowledge of this, then you will be putting yourself at a potential risk. You need to understand that code in and out, because that's our Bible. That's our highway code as a nurse in this country. Without having a thorough knowledge of that, you won't know where you might be breaching the rules. Because that's what sets out the professional standards of practice and behavior for nurses and midwives. So if you don't know the code, how will you know what these professional standards are? How will you know the kind of behavior that is expected of you? I always say to people that when you are working in this country as a nurse, you are actually working as ambassador, of that profession. And I'll tell you the reason why I said so, that you are working as an ambassador. The reason being that if you're a nurse in the UK, you are a nurse 24/7. You are a nurse inside work, you are a nurse outside work. I've represented so many people, I've represented so many people that had issues outside work, like fighting in the pub, road rage with a fellow driver, drink driving, fighting with your neighbors. These are things that has got nothing to do with our profession. But yet, they were still being referred to the NMC. Yet, we still went for hearings. Why? Because the NMC, they expect you to behave professionally, whether you are in your church, whether you are driving, whether you are in the pub, whether you are at a party. If they slap you at a party, you are not expected to slap them back as a nurse because you are the ambassador of the profession. The right thing to do is to call the police straight away. As a registered nurse in this country, you are not permitted to take laws into your own hands. You can't do that. Because and the reason why this is more important to some of you that you have just joined us here is that, so even some of the old nurses, they will come to me sometimes and I'll be telling them about the code. But you shouldn't have done that. Oh, Dr. Abbey, yeah, but this I didn't do that in the clinical area. What is their business? What is NMC business with that? This did not happen in the clinical area. Oh, what has that got to do? I fought with my neighbor. What has that got to do with NMC? And I will be shocked. And these are the people that have been practicing for the past 10, 12 years. And it's because they do not have the thorough knowledge of the NMC code. If you have that thorough knowledge of the code, you will be able to understand, the do's and don'ts of this profession. And that's why, please, if you are practicing in this country, you have not actually gone through the code, please try and do that, because that will save you a lot. That will, guide you in all your day-to-day practice as a clinician in this country. So let me move on. So as I said, why do we need the NMC code? We need it because it sets out the professional standards of practice and behavior for nurses and midwives. That's the reason why it is needed. As I said earlier on, in some of the examples I've already given, any breach of that code can lead to NMC referral. It doesn't matter whether you fought with your neighbor. It doesn't matter whether you engage in a road rage and say, oh boy, it's not in the clinical area. It did not happen in the clinical area. It's irrelevant. And that's why I said that as a clinician, you are serving as an ambassador of this noble profession. So wherever you are, you have to behave. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Any breach of that code. And that's why I said to you earlier on that I've represented people over the years, people that, people that were involved in road rage, people that, had issues in the pub, people that had issues with their neighbors, yes, because that constitutes a breach of the NMC code. And they have to go in front of the NMC to go and argue their case about why their pain should not be taken away from them. So let's move on. Yeah, these are the main topics we are, meant to actually address today. Don't forget what I said to you earlier on at the commencement of this session, that that most of the examples I'll be using, they will come from the cases I've done in the last 15 years for people. So these are real cases. Some of the examples I'll be sharing with you. They are not examples that you could read in any textbooks. So please try and listen attentively and feel free to ask me a question, please. So these are common pitfalls. Well, what I did is I looked at all the people I've represented over the past, 5-10 years. I then mapped out some of the, the common problems, that I dealt with during that period. And that's the way I was able to highlight some of these pitfalls. That's why I call them common pitfalls. So let's start with unprofessional behaviors in the clinical area. In the past, people have brought cases to me whereby the evidence being relied upon by the employer would be CCTV. And the first thing, excuse me, yeah. And the first thing I'll ask them is that, are you aware that there's actually CCTV on your ward? And they will tell me yes. And I will be perturbed. Do you think they put that CCTV there for fun? Or why do you think it's there? It's there to monitor your professional practice, your clinical practice, to ensure that you are behaving the way you should behave towards your patient, to ensure that your patients are being treated, very well. They are being treated nicely. They are being treated kindly. You are not abusing them. You are not maltreating them. It's for a purpose. So for you to have known that there's camera in that area and you are still behaving like this, I'm really perturbed. And I've been involved in so many cases like that, whereby their employers use the evidence from the CCTV footage. To be honest, if you are not passionate, you shouldn't do this our job. If you are not passionate, if you are looking for money, nothing is not for you. The passion has to be there. The passion to care for others. The passion to look after other people. The passion to look after vulnerable people. If it's not there, this job is not for you, because it will be a matter of time before you will run into trouble. That passion has to be there, whether there's CCTV camera or not. It should be irrelevant to your practice. You should treat this patient the way you would like to be treated, the way you would like your family to be treated. So, irrespective of whether there is CCTV camera. But when you now know that there's even camera, the onus is still on you to even, perform much better. And as I said, it was shocking to realize that despite the knowledge of people, that they have cameras all over the place on their units or, in their wards, people were still behaving indiscriminately as if to say, no, the camera is not there. And I've represented so many people over the years for that. As I said, people, they were being beaten up by patients, and, they retaliated by beating the patient back, rough handling of the patient in the course of restraint, arguing with the patient. Maybe medication were taken to them and they didn't want to take it. Oh, F off, I don't want your medication. Oh, you dare not talk to me that way. I'm here to help you. But why will you tell me to F off? Who do you think you are? I'm not taking nonsense from anybody and all sorts of things. So these patients are vulnerable people. If they don't want their medication, just walk away, put refused on their card. Simple as that. Nobody will blame you for that because they have capacity. You cannot force them to take the medication. So if they ask you to F off, just say thank you. That's not nice, and you walk away and you do your documentation. That's it. But some people will now take it to big argument. The patient also will now get angry. Yeah, you are responding to me. You are a nurse. You are not meant to be answering me. Who says who? You asked me, you told me I'm stupid. You are stupid as well. Who do you think you are? Blah, blah. And meanwhile, the CCTV video is doing what? It's recording. And then this same patient that asked you to F off will now be the one to now go and report you to the manager. And what they need to go, even the same patient will be telling the manager, go and review your CCTV footage. If you think I'm lying, go and review that. I've done so many cases like that the patients will refer the managers to CCTV footage. Say, look, go and check what I've said to you. Go and corroborate what I've said to you on your CCTV and come back to me because I want to make a formal complaint. Why are we putting ourselves through that? Just walk away. Just walk away. So that's very important. Let's move on speedily. Breach of confidentiality and data protection, data protection, rather. There's something also that happens quite often here, which I would like to share with you. In some places, you might be working in an establishment whereby you could notice that, you are being treated differently as compared to your white colleagues. It's not normal, but you see that people like us who've been around for a very long time. If anybody is telling you there's no racism in NHS or in healthcare setting, they are talking nonsense. There is. But if you want to address that, you have to do it professionally so that you will not put yourself at risk. I've represented some people in the past whereby, take for instance, a white colleague made a drug error and she was just given a slap on the wrist. Oh, don't do that again. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, don't worry. We're going to send you, for medication awareness training, blah, 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 this and that. And a black colleague will make the similar mistake, and then she will be suspended. He or she will be suspended. Now, what then happens? Because of that kind of a situation on the ward, people will now start gathering evidence. So when next a white colleague misbehaves and he or she is being pardoned, people will keep that record. It might be about drug record. They will go and keep the record of the drug chart so that should in case they find themselves in that kind of similar situation in future, they can say, no, I'm being treated differently because when Joyce did the same mistake, I've got the drug chart where the mistake was made, nothing happened, she was not suspended, she continued working. Why are you suspending me? Okay, that's fine. But the problem we now have with that is that when you are using that evidence, you cannot bring that drug chart to say, look, this is the evidence, because the manager will ask you, you do not have the evidence. And you will now tell them, no, I have the evidence because I made a photocopy of that drug chart when it happened. They will now ask you, send us the copy of that drug chart. Let's see it. Well, let's see your evidence. And then you foolishly will not send it to them. Then you are trapped. Because that document is referred to as patient identifiable information document, PID, patient identifiable information document. And you cannot have PII document in your possession without permission of the management. That's immediately is a clear breach of confidentiality and data protection. So if you are taking anything that bears the name of the patient away from the ward, from the unit where you are working, is illegal. It's automatic breach of the confidentiality of that patient. So it's very important. So what I encourage people to do in that kind of situation is that they keep work diary. Just write your diary on so day. Joyce made a mistake, this and that. She was given a slap on the wrist. No formal disciplinary action was taken, this and that. The patient involved was MA. You are going to use the initial because your diary could be stolen by anybody, So if it's Mary Adams, you just say, the incident, took place in respect of Mary Adams. Mary Adams, MA rather. MA was to be given so medication, instead of 50 milligram, 100 milligram was given. So you document that in your work diary. So when you now come to advocate like me, when you show me the diary, I will now say, don't worry. I will now write on your behalf to that hospital that, can you provide me the drug chart of MA on so date, on so date, on so date? And under the law, they will be obliged to provide it. So that's the way we tackle that. So you can still keep the record, but what you cannot do is to make photocopies of patients' identifiable information and take it home. Because if that happens, you could lose your job and you could be referred to the NMC. So that's that. So let's move on. So the next common pitfall I would like to address, just 1 minute. Is statement writing, documentation, and record keeping. I've represented so many nurses in those areas. Let me deal with the statement writing first, because you might not know this. In this country, when you have an issue at work, something happens, you see the manager, they'll come to you, oh, I need the statement before you leave now. I need the statement right away, this and that. Probably maybe you are doing long day, towards the end of that, an incident happened. On-call manager then call you, oh, before you leave, I need a statement. You are not obliged to provide that statement at that particular time. You can tell them, look, it's been a long day. I'm stressed out already. I could not even get my thoughts together. I'm extremely stressed now. Please, I need a day or two to be able to put this together. That's one thing you can say to your manager. The second thing you can say, look, I've been given a standard instruction by my union that under no circumstances should I submit any statement without them having the opportunity, to review it. And I would not like to go against that standard advice being given to me. So that's another way you can deal with it. It's very important. But because these managers, they put pressure on you, oh, I need it right now, or I need it by tomorrow morning on my desk. What does he want to do, or what does she want to do with that with that statement overnight? What? Incident had already happened. Then, okay, you want to investigate. Yes. To investigate any incident takes some days. Because the problem with you submitting statements straight away is the fact that if you do not have anybody to help you, review that statement, you might actually be putting yourself in more mess. You might be putting yourself in more trouble. Because you need someone, like a mentor to help you just go through it, just to be sure that, you've written what is expected of you and that you have not implicated yourself. Because there are so many cases I've done for some nurses that if they had contacted me at the initial stage, the case wouldn't have even gotten to the NMC. If I'd helped them at the initial stage about giving them advice about the kind of statement they should submit, the case wouldn't have gotten to the NMC. But because they wrote it on their own, they believe, oh, the manager was just putting too much pressure, and I didn't know what to say to, to her or to him. I just submitted. So he said, she wanted it right now, and I had to do it. No, you don't have to. You do not have to. You have the right for your statement to be reviewed by either your union rep or by your mentor before it's been submitted. So that's that. Documentation and record keeping. This is another area whereby I've represented so many nurses. This is our job. It's a lovely job, but at the same time, it's a delicate job. Some nurses will do long day, an incident will happen, and because they are so tired, they will say, no, I'm tired. I'm doing early shifts tomorrow. When I come back, I'll come and write the notes. Then by the time they get back, they get back home, maybe they became unwell, or maybe one of their children became unwell, and they had to take carers leave the next day, or they themselves, they couldn't go to work because they've not been feeling well. Now there's a problem. Maybe you return back to work 3 days after. We provide 24-hour service care. You have provided gap in the care you provided to this patient. Because what happened to that patient on your shift because you were not there in the morning when you promised you will come to come and complete the documentation, and you didn't come, there was already a gap. Nobody knew what happened to that patient yesterday. So by the time you come back to work 3 days' time, your suspension letter will be waiting. That, you provided care to a patient, and, and it might be very important thing. It might be a very important task, that you did with the patient. So no matter how tired you might be, please, if you have to claim your time on, do it. That's another thing that is very important in this country. People will say, oh, I'm being paid till 8 o'clock. In this country, there's nothing like my job is 8 to 8. Forget it. There's nothing like, oh, I've closed already. This is the end of my shift. No, it doesn't work that way in the UK. When you are at work until you are able to safely leave. And I will explain that in a minute. There was a lady I represented. She had already completed, a shift. She had already changed her uniform. She was just washing her hands when the emergency alarm went off. Apparently, one of their patients, had a fall. And everybody was rushing down to the corridor to go and save this patient. But the nurse kept on washing her own hands. And when she finished washing her hands, despite the fact that everybody was in the corridor, everybody went to the corridor, they rushed down there, the nurse just picked up her own bag, said, well, it's the end of my shift. I'm going home. Anyway, they have enough people to deal with this. And she left. Guess what? She was sacked and referred to the NMC. This incident happened almost about 15 minutes after the end of her shift. She was sacked. Not only sacked, she was subsequently referred to the NMC. So if there's anything happening at your place of work, you have to stay and then discuss how to claim your time with your manager or bank or whatever you want to do. But this job is not a job of, as long as you are in that environment, you are still accountable and responsible for the care of the patient on that unit. As long as you are inside. And I just gave you that one example. I've represented so many people that's how they ended up being referred to the NMC. Leaving saying that they had completed their shift. This has got nothing to do with me. I've handed over already. There's nothing like you've handed over already. Unless the incoming shift asks you to leave. Say, you know what? We're okay. We can deal with this. You can go. And then you can then say, okay. And if anything happens, say, no, I did ask. I went there. I was told by the nurse in charge of the incoming shift that they were okay. They would deal with the situation. And they asked me, they said I could leave. They gave me the permission to leave. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left. So it's very important. It's extremely important, please. So this job, it's a noble job, but it's not something that you can take for granted, because any small thing like that, someone could end up, at the NMC, besides losing your job. Okay, let's move on. So the next one, inappropriate use of social media. You have to forgive me because I told Samuel that I will only be able to be with you till 6 o'clock because I have another engagement at 6. So bear with me. So I'm so sorry about it. This phone is not meant to be ringing. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, sorry about that. So let's move on. Inappropriate use of social media. Of course, we all use social media. And even in our profession, they encourage us to use social media. Interaction with fellow colleagues, sharing ideas, research works, all sorts of things. Even all the people, our so-called regulatory body, NMC, they use Facebook, they use LinkedIn, they use all sorts of things. They encourage us to use it. Using of social media is not the issue. It's about how you use it. I've also represented quite a number of nurses based on what they've posted on social media. One, don't discuss what goes on at work on your social media. Facebook, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. Don't. Otherwise, you might be breaching people's confidentiality. That's very important. Number two, when it comes to social media, also, in life, we all have views and opinions about issues in our community. That is normal. That is normal. We all have that in our community. But please, keep your personal opinion to yourself. Don't go and express opinion that will land you into trouble with the NMC. And I'll give you an instance of, people I've represented over the years regarding issues on social media. Some people, they were verbalizing their opinion about their anti-gay opinion on social media. Why would two men be having sex with each other? This country is a satanic country. Oh, why would two women be sleeping together? Who does that? And all sort of thing. When people get to know that you are a nurse, any members of the public can refer you to the NMC. Because that means, you are showing this kind of, what's it called, dangerous view about lesbians and homosexuals. All these gay people. If you have that opinion, keep it to yourself. The world doesn't want to know about your opinion. As I'm talking to you, I have my own opinion about gay. I have my own opinion about what is going on in Gaza. I have my opinion about what is going on in Israel. But I will discuss that within the confinement of my house with my family. You will not know my views. Because if I say it out there, will I be able to change what is going on? No. That's my opinion. So I will keep it within my family, within my four walls. But some people will go to the extreme. Israel like this. Why are they killing small babies? Gaza people, this and that. Hamas, they are evil. Don't get involved as a nurse. Do not get that. That doesn't mean that you do not have a political views on things, but it has to be measured. If you want to talk about things like that, if you talk about ceasefire, nobody will come and accuse you of anything. For God's sake, please let the two parties come together and resolve this matter. People are being killed left and center. That's your neutral view. Nobody will come back to you now and say, you've said something against Jews or you said something against Muslims. No, that's a neutral something, because sometimes we're all political animals. And sometimes we just want to get our own opinion out there. Yeah, that's fine. But it has to be measured so that you will not put your own profession at risk for things nobody is paying you for. So that's very important, and that's why I said inappropriate use of social media. Because like you see me now, I'm a social media guru. I use social media a lot for everything, but, in a measured way. I measure what I put out there. I just don't put everything about my life, about my opinion there. No. So you have to be mindful of that as a nurse. So let's move on speedily. The next common pitfall, risks involved in delegation of duties. Sometimes we get carried away as nurses that when you are working with HCAs, you are still accountable and responsible for their actions and omissions. We get carried away. because it's stipulated in the code. When you are working with any HCA or support worker or whatever you want to call them, they are working under your instruction. And when they mess up, then you will be held liable for that. And people do not know that. I've represented some people, and they will say to me when I'm taking my brief from them, oh, yeah, but that HCA has been working in that establishment for 17 years. So, and yet they're still coming to me to say, hey, why did you allow this to happen? It doesn't matter whether the HCA has worked there or had worked there for 18, 20 years. It's irrelevant. As long as he or she is HCA, he or she is working under your directions. And when mistake happens, you will be, held liable for that mistakes as the qualified nurse or as the nurse in charge. And the code stipulates that. If you go to our code, section 11.2, I believe, and 11.3, states that categorically under the code. Section 11.2 and 11.3 of the NMC Code states that. So, and that's why I said earlier on at the beginning of this that you have to know your code. Because some people will even be coming to me and be arguing with me. Oh, hey, Dr. Abbey, do you think that's right? This person is very experienced HCA. Why are they blaming me for that? That means you do not understand your code. If you understand your code, you will not be asking me that question. You will have known about 11.2, section 11.2 and 11.3. Or, instead of you saying, oh, it's not fair, Dr. Abbey, this is an experienced person. It has got nothing to do with me. Or, he did not tell me when he allowed the patient. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So you need to be sure. So, and when things are delegated, when tasks are delegated to your HCA, you go back to ensure that those tasks that have been delegated, they have been executed safely. You have to, it's your responsibility. Because I've represented a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but I told him to do it. I said, well, excuse me, let me play devil's advocate. Yes, you told him to do it. Did you go back to check whether, he had actually done it? Oh, no, because I told him already, I assume he must have done. You cannot assume in this profession. You can't. You cannot. You have to go back as a registered nurse, no matter how busy you might be, just to be sure that those tasks have been carried out. So that's that about delegation of duties. References and risks involved. This is another interesting area. That I actually want you to be cautious with. In this country, we're one big family, Nigerians, Africans, and we want to support each other. And it's good we support each other. But when you're a nurse, you have to do that to ensure that you do not put your pain at risk. People will come to you and say, oh, Abbey, can you please provide me with a reference? I've just gotten this job, blah, 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 but I need a reference. Okay, that's fine. But the problem now is people will now come to you that they want to use you to provide them a professional reference when you have not previously worked together. That is dangerous. In fact, it is extremely dangerous. Extremely. I'll tell you why it's so dangerous in a minute. It's extremely dangerous. Don't do it. Even if your brother, your blood brother, came to you and say, oh, please do this for me. Don't. Unless if you had previously worked together, that's fine. Because your reference has to be a factual reference. It has to be something you can defend. Otherwise, what you are doing is that you are lying to deceive a prospective employer. That's why it is dangerous. You are telling someone, you are telling a prospective employer that this person actually has possessed this kind of quality, skills, knowledge, experience that he or she did not have. So you are misleading a prospective employer. And that's why NMC, they don't joke with that. In fact, they strike off straight away. No stories. No story. The starting point of that, is strike off. You have to do something extraordinary before you could be given a temporary suspension when it comes to that. Because even me that I'm talking to you, I find myself in that position several times. But what you can do when people come to you is that, look, I can give you character reference. That's not a problem. Are you getting me now? I can give you character reference, but I cannot give you professional reference. So you can give people character reference. I've known Samuel for 3 years, this and that, in the capacity of this, blah, blah, blah. I know him to be a trustworthy person, very knowledgeable, this and that. I can defend that. I can defend that. There is nothing that is untrue in what I've said, that I've known Samuel in the community. So if you can tell them, look, I can only do character reference because there's different from character and professional reference. Professional reference, they'll be asking you about the clinical ability of this person. They'll be asking you how many days sick leave did they have in the last 1 year, this and that. How do you want to provide that? Are you his manager? So what will you write there? None. You are lying. Or 2. Because it's professional reference. It's meant to come from a manager or from his manager. So you put yourself into trouble with that. No matter how close people might be, I've seen people, even what's it called, my wife, sometimes the church where we go, people go, oh, sister, so, can you, I'll just remind her, character reference, my wife, character reference, make it quite clear to them. If they don't want to talk to you again, so be it. You know how you suffer before you got your pin. Character reference. Is what I mean. So, because you might have enemy in the course of that. That's fine. You work that for your pain. Why will you put it at risk? Because you want to keep people happy? No, I won't do that. I suffered when I got my pin. So you have to be careful. You support people, you give them reference, Let me even give you an instance. I told you I previously worked as a ward manager, as a matron, as all these things. And when I was working as a matron, I'm talking about how many years ago now, almost about 18, 20 years ago. But some of my junior staff, they still maintain contact with me, So about 2 years ago, one of them contacted me. And I said, Abbey, please, I need a reference for this new job, this and that, I said, which one? Professional or character? He said, professional, of course. You've managed me before, isn't it? This and that. I said, yes. But I managed you 18 years ago. I said, I can give you professional reference if you want, but I will indicate there that I was your manager. I managed you 18 years ago. I said, no, they want current manager. I said, but am I your current manager? So why are you asking me for that? Because I'm not your current manager. I managed you 18 years ago. So if I managed you 18 years ago, so what do you want me to write? He said, they will prefer if you can just say, I said, no, I can't. Because what you are saying to me is that I should lie on your behalf. I won't do that. I will not do that. I can't even give you a character reference because I did not know you in the community. I got to know you as a junior member of mine when I was in the management, and that was 18 years ago. So I had to apologize to the poor guy that, I'm so sorry I couldn't be of help, that there's nothing I could do to help. But please speak to your manager or deputy manager or people that you're working together, hopefully they will be able to assist you. So that's the issue about the references and risk. And when someone is being referred to the NMC for reference, because of what I've said to you earlier on about you lying to the prospective employers, that this person had possessed these skills, knowledge, and experience that were not there, that you didn't know anything about, that you will be fired. They will take away your pin. They don't miss words on that. So please try and refrain from this kind of behavior. Let's move on speedily. Allegation of, let me see how we're doing with time. Okay. Allegation of dishonesty. This is self-explanatory anyway. In this country, if you are involved with anything that involves being cautioned by police, any conviction, maybe for drink driving or tool fighting or anything that involves police, you need to tell your regulatory body. You need to tell NMC. Because if you don't tell them, they got to know later, then you are putting your license at risk. So they want pure honesty, openness from you. Though sometimes it might lead to some unpleasant outcomes or decisions from there, but they still want you to be open and honest at all times, irrespective of what they might do to you. So I've also represented people in the past whereby, they were involved in drink driving, and then, they were cautioned by the police, or some of them were convicted, and they still kept it to themselves until NMC was actually notified by the police. Because if you have any issues with the police and they got to know that you're a nurse, they will refer you themselves. The police will tell the NMC that, we arrested one of your members, blah, blah, blah. This is the name for XYZ offense. They have that, police has that obligation to inform the NMC. So all these things, they work together. So if you get away with it, it's only a matter of time. So please, the most important thing is to avoid all these issues that could, take you to the NMC, because it's not a pleasant place to be. Covert digital recording. This is another area that is very popular now, especially those of you that might be working in the nursing homes. Family members, they are quite worried about their loved ones. And what they've been doing, they've been actually installing covert digital in the environment. It might be the audio, it might be the video one or audio one, put it sometimes under the bed of their loved ones, under the pillow, and what have you, just to gauge your interaction with their family member, with their mother, with their father, and all sorts of things. And that's why when I was talking earlier on, I was talking about passion. You need to be passionate about this job. If that passion is not there, this job is not for you. Because if you have that passion, there's no way you are going to be changing the elderly person and you are shouting at oh, shut up, you are screaming. What's the matter with you? I'm only changing you. Just shut up, And you can't, these are confused, people, they are elderly. What they need is pampering, oh, sorry, darling, I'm only here to change you. Don't worry, it won't take long. Just give me 1 minute. Oh, you are wet. I can't leave you with this wet pad, Oh, no, don't change me. Fuck off. Fuck off. Don't change me. Girl, go away. You will not engage in that kind of this thing. You just, keep on pacifying, the poor resident. Oh, no, don't worry. I'm almost done. Sorry, I'm almost, you just show that kind of empathy towards them, rather than you becoming irritable because of their behavior. They are confused. They are like children again. So I've also done some cases for people whereby the evidence they rely upon when we got to the NMC was a covert digital recording. Some people just put something under the bed of their mom or their father, and then just hearing the way nurses were engaging with their relatives. So that's why I implore all of you to be at your best at all times when you're at work. There was even a case I did, and the person was telling me, oh, Dr. Abbey, is there any way we can sue them? They did not tell the home that they put a covert digital recording there. The home did not give them permission, and nobody told us, nobody should record me without telling me. All those ones, they are not applicable when it comes to safeguarding matters. It's true that when they want to record you, you need to be told. When there is a camera in the home, they need to tell people, that we have fixed camera in the home. But when it comes to the relatives, especially when you are now caught that you actually maltreated their relatives, that's the justification in law for what they have done. Because only what they have to say is that, look, we had these doubts that our mother or our father was being abused. And that was what prompted our decision, to do what we did. And that's it. As long as it's under safeguarding matter, any judge will accept that evidence. So I'll just tell them, don't even go there. I said, don't go there, because that will mess our case up. Don't go there. We'll find another way of dealing with this situation. But the issue of, they do not have right, it's not going to take us to anywhere when it comes to NMC. Yes, it's not going to. So do not go there. So I implore all of you, please behave professionally at all times. I believe you love this job. I believe you have the passion, the compassion to look for others. That's why, despite seeing other professions, you chose, willingly, to pursue a career in nursing. Please, display that kind of passion and compassion at all times when you are engaging with your vulnerable patients. So let's move on speedily. We've dealt with that. Sickness at work, impact on secondary job. Now, quickly, this one, basically, what I would like to say on that is this. In this country, some of us, we do 2 jobs. There's nothing bad in doing 2 jobs. We do bank, we do agency, that's fine. But besides that, we have some people that actually have 2 permanent jobs. Maybe one for night shift and the other one for day shift. Now, there are 2 things here that might cause problem. Just 1 minute, let me put on my charger, please. It's warning me that the battery is about to go. Yeah. So there are 2 issues here, to be addressed. So when you have those 2 people that are doing 2 permanent jobs, what then happens is that when they are off sick at one, they might be off sick on their day shift and day work job, and still be going to the night shift. That's fraud. Because if you're unwell, you're unwell. You can't be unwell during the day and be well at night. It's not done. I mean, I do want to do that, So you are not Mother Teresa or whatever, I be magician, you can't do that. So if you are off sick during at your day job, you have to be off sick at the night job. So, but what's been happening is that some people will be off sick either at night job or at day job, and they will still be going to the other one. That is fraud. So when they are caught, they just refer them to the NMC. So that's why I put it there that sickness at work, impact on secondary job. What I meant by secondary job is the second job. It has impact. So if you are off sick, you are better off sick for both. That's number 1. Number 2, another implication is that even having 2 permanent jobs, day and night, that one alone also is illegal in this country. Because if you are caught, the NMC will accuse you of putting the lives of your patient at risk. Why? Because they will say that's a clear breach of working time directives. You are not having rest in between. And when you are not having rest, there is potential to make severe mistake that will even lead to the death of a patient. You are tired, you are not resting, and you want to calculate a dosage of this thing for people. Maybe you are meant to give injection to these people, and then what happens? Because you are tired, you can't do the calculation right. Instead of maybe 10 meals or 20 meals, you go and give 100 meals to someone, you are going to kill the patient. Because your mind is tired, your brain is tired. So NMC, they do take breach of working time regulation. They take them very seriously. And I must have represented almost about 5 to 7 people in the last 5 years solely for breach of working time, that they were working back to back, leaving day shift and going to night shift. That's only their offense, nothing more. And they had not even committed any further offense like, oh, they had made, what's it called, errors with medication. No, but for just NMC to know that they were doing back-to-back alone, not that the patient had been put into actual risk. Just for that alone, they were referred to the NMC for the back-to-back. So nobody is saying you should be doing one job because the money they pay us is rubbish anyway, you know. So we're not asking you to do one job, but when you have your off days, you know, some people, what they do is that wherever they are working, they negotiate for 3 long days. So you have other 4 days to play with. Out of that 4 days, you can do agency, 3 long day agency, and you use 1 day to rest. You can justify it. You know, in this our profession, what I always say to my people is this: any decision you are making, just ask yourself, if I'm caught, can I justify my decision? If your answer is yes, do it. If your answer is no, don't do it. Just do that self, checks with yourself. Self-assessment. If you cannot justify it, don't do it. If you can justify it, go for it. So that's that. Last but not the least, custom and practice. I don't know whether some of you do understand what we call custom and practice in this country. I'll break that down. Custom and practice in law, it means that something that has been happening, at a place of work, repeatedly over the years. And because it's been happening and nobody has challenged it, it has become part of your contract. And I'll give you an instance. Take, for instance, it doesn't happen quite often here, but like in Nigeria, take, for instance, when you go to work on Fridays, most people, because Friday starts in Nigeria from Friday, weekend starts from Friday, isn't it? So some of you guys, when you go to some offices in Nigeria, after 12, they say there won't be anybody there. People have gone because they started their weekend early. Is what I mean? So in this country, that's what we call custom and practice. Because nobody has said that to them. It's not part of their contract that, oh, on Friday, you will only be working till 12. People just sat down and said, look, let's be leaving work early. Let's be leaving, let's start our weekend early. 12 o'clock, me, I'm going home. I want to start my weekend early. Nobody has challenged that. So it then subsequently became what we call custom and practice. So we have things like that in this country as well, where people are doing certain things routinely, but because it hasn't been challenged over the years, it becomes part of their contract. So what happens here is that the people might indulge in what I call custom and practice, but that can put patients at risk. Some unsafe practice, like taking, for instance, a team can arrange among themselves that, people should be coming early so that the day staff can leave early. And then what happens? So 2 people will come early to take over from the, 2 people will come early from the night staff to take over from the people who are on long day. But the night staff, they were meant to be, how many? Probably maybe 5 staff. But 2 people came early, took handover, and they asked all the day staff to be going. So between the time other 3 staff will arrive for the night shift, you left 20 patients with 2 members of staff. Within that 15 minutes or 20 minutes, anything could have happened. But because it's custom and practice, everybody, yeah, that's what, that's what they always do, this and that, You cannot say that to the NMC. If you are involved in that custom and practice, you are a gunner. You cannot do that. Another custom and practice that happens a lot that puts people into trouble is the issue of breaks. In some places, you go and work, and people say, oh, it's night shift, it's quiet. You go and sleep for 3 hours, then when you come back, I'll go for another 3 hours. If something happens, if there's any incident, at that time, during that your 3 hours, when this matter, whatever happens, is being investigated, there's something we call timeline. You cannot do any robust investigation without mapping out what we call timeline. So the timeline will indicate where, was everybody during the incident. So what we normally do, we managers, when they ask us to do investigation. So you list the names of all the patients, the names of the staff, sorry. And you then write all the time. Take, for instance, it happens at night time. So you write maybe from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. We call it grid. So you do the grid, and so you now account for where, each of them, where they were, where A was, at 12 o'clock, where nurse B was, at 1 o'clock, where nurse C was, at 3 o'clock. So from that, it will show that you were out of the ward for 3 hours. And then you are in trouble already. So by the time the management, they will now put pressure on the nurse in charge. I'm sorry, this is what happened. That's why you couldn't account for nurse B because she was actually on 3-hour break. So say, oh, so why 3 hours break? Oh, this is what I meant. This is what we've been doing since I joined the trust. This is what I've been, I'm not the one that initiated it, but since I joined a year ago, that's the system I met in place. That's custom and practice, but that doesn't make it right. It's dangerous because, as you know, in our profession in this country, as a nurse, you are solely accountable and responsible for your actions and omissions in your practice. This one of the professions whereby you can't go and say, oh, so person asked me to do this. No, it's not applicable in our profession. You are solely accountable and responsible for your actions and omissions. And no other way about it. So that's the bit about custom and practice. It's 6:10 already, but let me just quickly run you through my other slides. I just want to be sure that you get the gist of the pitfalls. Now, duty of candor. I'm very sure some of you must have heard it. That's part of our, our code as well. It's very important you know this. And the reason why I brought it in is that wherever you find yourself, you must make sure that you are open and honest with your employer. Even if it's going to lead to you being dismissed, you must be open and honest because that will save you later. Should you be referred to the NMC? And what do we mean by duty of candor? The professional duty of candor is about openness and honesty when things go wrong. Every healthcare professionals must be open and honest with patients when something goes wrong with their treatment or care. Not only with patients, though, with even your colleagues, with the management, with your colleagues, you honor. And that's the way they could support you. And that's what that means. Okay? Now, quickly, let me run you through this because there's no point of discussing the pitfalls with you without giving you ideas about how to avoid it, those pitfalls that I've identified. So I'll quickly run you through how to avoid those pitfalls I've already discussed with you. Mentoring is very important in this country. When you want to work as a nurse safely in this country, you need a mentor. You need someone that had previously walked your journey. You need it. Like earlier on when I was talking about statement, those are the kind of things that will be very helpful. Are you getting me? You want to write a statement, you do the draft, send it to your mentor. Abbey, please, can you quickly let me look at this? There was an incident last night at work. We've been asked to write a statement. I've written the statement. Can you please quickly have a look at it for me? So you need a mentor. You know, I left NHS as a clinical service manager. At that time, I still had a mentor. My mentor, who was what's it called, deputy service director at that time, also had a mentor. Even at that level, wherever you are, you need that mentor. You see what I mean? So you need someone who had walked your journey. Please, it's very important. You know, unfortunately, don't ask Dr. Abbey to be your mentor because I'm extremely busy. Go and ask Sam how long it took him to get through to me. So please, I would have loved to do that. I used to do that when I was working in the NHS as a manager. I had a lot of mentees, you know, that I was mentoring. But since I started this business, oh my God, no breathing space. So I would have loved to do that, but please don't even bother, because what's the point of having a mentor and you can't even get through to him when it's most needed? Is what I mean. So that's that. But please look into that. So acquisition of knowledge, that's exactly what we are doing today. And I want to commend some of you that you have joined this forum today. Because usually when we do this kind of program, you don't see people joining. That's one of the problems we have in this country. You know, I used to run seminar, you know, for people here in London. I take them to nice hotel, holiday in the heart of London. Usually when I organize that seminar, it usually costs me about £5,000 because I have to pay for water, for projector, for chart, for everything. They ask me to pay for everything per head. I had to pay for sandwiches, for coffee per head, for biscuit per head, for sandwiches per head. So usually I pay about five grand for that. Guess what? I will still not get people to fill the hall. All the time I was running that seminar, I was running them at a loss. Just calling people, you know, charging them £50 to come and, you know, enhance their knowledge. They will not pay. But there will be problem, and they have to come and pay me thousands to get them out of NMC, NMC case. Who does that? Pay £50 to get this knowledge, to acquire the knowledge that will prevent you from even, you know, having NMC issue in the first instance. You can't pay that, but you are ready to pay me thousands, you know, to now come and represent you at the NMC. So acquisition of knowledge. So that's why I want to commend some of you that are on this platform today, that you did the right thing, and just keep on doing that. Wherever you see that knowledge is being shared, please make yourself available. Make yourself available. Is the best. That's the way you can practice safely, efficiently, and competently in this country. Having a full understanding of the code, I've already spoken to you about that. It's very important. Learning from your mistakes and mistakes of others, that's self-explanatory. Is very important as well. Don't become a defensive all the time when you are being accused of doing something. Just do your self-reflection on that. Do your self-reflection. Don't become defensive. Don't become defensive. So, because that's the way you can learn from your mistakes. And also, when people around you, make any mistake, learn from their mistakes. Don't wait until you now make a similar mistake. So it's very important. That's the way you can avoid all these pitfalls. Self-reflection is very important in this job. Please try and do self-reflection. Anything that happens at work, look back. Did I act, correctly? Did I act safely? Is there anything I could have done better? Is there anything I could have done differently? Just ask yourself those questions. Because in this job, we learn all the time. We learn all the time. Yeah, visit to the NMC hearings. That's very important. I don't know whether you are aware. Some of the hearings, they are public hearings. What that means that anybody can walk in, but you have to phone them in advance to say you want to come and observe, one of the hearings. It's a public hearing, anybody can walk in. So as long as you call them before, you can walk into the building and walk into any of the hearings we do. But now, because it's on Zoom, you have to speak to them. They have to give you the case they wanted you to, to observe and all these sort of things. But please do that because it opens your eyes. and it opens your mind. When you see the reality of this, I'm telling you, that will caution you. You will appreciate your practice, and you appreciate the need to practice safely at all times. So book yourself in, for one of these hearings, and that would be great. Using duty of candor to your advantage. When a mistake is done, just own up straight away. Because if subsequently you are being referred to the NMC, that's what is going to bail us out. I've represented a lot of people that slept on duty, but because the first time they asked them to write statement, they were able to contact me. I told them, yes, own up. Yeah, tell them. You fell asleep when you were doing the ops. And then tell them, how apologetic you were, and then tell them the reason why you fell asleep. And then leave the rest with me if they refer you. And we'll get the person out because we've already put, our action in place. But when you are not saying, oh, I didn't sleep, it's not true, this and that, and 3-4 people now came, say, no, actually, we saw you sleeping. The patient came, say you were sleeping. Nurse in charge came, say, yeah, we saw you sleeping. Another one came there, you were waking up. What are you denying? Whereas if you had owned up to that, it's about now be able to convince the NMC why you fell asleep, what was going on in your mind at that particular time, how apologetic you were, the lessons you learned, what you will do differently in future to ensure that you don't find yourself in that position again. That's the end of the case. Full stop. You go back to your job. So that's what I meant by using duty of candor to your advantage, that is being open and honest. That's the end. Any question?
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Dr. Abbey. This is quite an interesting topic. And I know a lot of persons would have some questions. Please, can you, if you have any question, can you just raise your hand? On your screen, there's a reaction for raising hands, so we could get that. Do we have anybody who has a question? Okay, I have one. Let me unmute your mic. Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. This is an eye-opening event. Thank you so much for the opportunity given to us.
You're welcome.
What's up with NMC? Thank you, sir. But my question is, for where I'm working currently, like the number of us that are relatively new are more than people that have been working there over the years. So is it, and you speak about mentor, which I know is also very important when it comes to adapting to nursing in the UK and stuff like that. So I want to know, is it compulsory that the mentor I have is working where I'm currently working, or probably outside my uni, but the person is still a nurse in the UK? I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, the last thing I didn't hear, the last statement, something in the UK, that's one I didn't hear. Can you repeat the last sentence you made?
Okay, sir. I said, is it compulsory for me to have a mentor exactly where I'm working?
Mm-hmm.
I can get someone else, because my situation right now is the number of us that are new.
Yes, I got the question. Let me repeat that. No. Let me address that to save time. I got your question now. Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's not, you don't have to have your mentor at the place where you're working. And to be honest, it's not advisable you do that. Are you getting me? Yeah, because you might get caught up in the politics of the place. You need a neutral person to be your mentor to get the best out. The people that you are working with will give you supervision. Supervision is different from mentoring. So that's why you need someone completely outside but the person must also be a nurse and someone above you. Take, for instance, maybe from the post of deputy ward manager above, if you are band 5, because you cannot choose someone of your band as your mentor. You need someone that had previously walked your journey, because that's the whole idea, so that they can use their own experience to develop you. Are you getting me? So that's that. Yes. It's always good from outside rather than from inside your own organization. Yeah.
Thank you. Funke.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Abbey, for today's presentation. I joined late, but I learned a lot from what you have said. And I was just going to ask, please, when NMC pins are delayed for a long time, is there a way it can be fast-tracked? I think I'll go straight to the point. Recently, ahead of
but you have to summarize your question, though, because I have limited time to leave now. So, and I want to attend to all the other people's questions as well. So please, just quick summary, and then so that I can assist with your question.
Ahead of the nurse whose pin has been delayed for over 3 months, and this particular trust suspended, withdrew her COS, so she's left hanging, and I'm wondering what can be done.
Okay. Yeah.
Because our pin is not out yet. Yes, basically. Okay,
thank you. You see, the problem with the issue with the NMC is that because they are being set up by statutes, they have their own way of working, which we don't have control over. So you can't tell them, I want this matter to be resolved, in March. I want this matter to be resolved in April. We don't have that control, because they have to do all the logistics and behind the scene as well, getting panel together, looking at the case, see whether further investigation is required. Whether further investigation is required and all this sort of thing. So because of that, it's a bit difficult to get them to fast track anything. Take, for instance, I've just completed a case yesterday, 5-day hearing. We have not finished. That's the first part. We're moving to the second stage of the case in March, but I've just completed 5 days on Friday. This case was initially referred to the NMC in 2020.
Wow.
And this 4 years, 2020. Can you imagine? 2020. And they've been hiding under the disguise of, because of COVID. In fairness to them, post-COVID, they had massive backlogs. So, but they've been using it as an excuse for all this further delay. So, but the way they set up their rules, you don't have control about, I want my case to be dealt with by next month. Otherwise what? You can't do anything. And even when people like us that were representative, when we write to them that, look, we're not happy with what is going on, you just get the standard sorry letter. We're sorry, to put you in this position, we're looking into your concerns and, due to the logistics and the delay caused by COVID, they just use all these flimsy excuses, and you can't sue them, you can't do anything because they are set up by statutory body. So that's the problem. Coming back to the issue of the employer, though, you should be able to put pressure on your union to do the needful, because the union can be able to put pressure on your employer directly by saying, look, what is happening at the moment is not the fault of this nurse. Can they be more empathetic towards the situation, and then give them time to resolve it? They can put pressure, people like RCN or Unite or Unison, but from what I've been hearing from people, they've not been doing much to support people in that position. And they have that power because these are big organizations. They are big organizations. They can do it. They have rapport with these people already. But because they don't want to do it, that's the problem. Because NMC, I've seen a lot of WhatsApp messages flying around and say, can we sue people are trying to sue the NMC or whatever. It won't work. Don't waste your money, because it's been set up by statutes. It's like you went to court of law and they find you guilty and you say you want to sue the court. You can't, because court was set up by statutes. You can appeal the decision of the court, but you cannot sue the court or the judge. It's the same thing with NMC. So if a lawyer say, oh, bring money, let's sue them, they just want to take your money. You can't. But in terms of the employment status of that person, the union can actually do a lot. Okay. They can do a lot to reverse situation.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. We'll give opportunity to those watching via YouTube. If you have any question on YouTube, you can pop it on the chat and I will read it out for Dr. Abbey to hear. We have one more person here. Victor, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Sarowese, for this platform, and also the resource person who has spoken to us. My question is very simple. I did hear in the course of your presentation that it is not ideal for a nurse who has completed his or her shift, maybe a 12-hour shift, to leave the hospital facility, and whatever happens around the period where that nurse is already closed for the day, the nurse is still liable. I want you to please throw more light on that, because it's expected that this profession is a duty profession where a reliever comes to take over from the outgoing colleague. So what is expected when I have completed my shift? I mean, am I not supposed to hand over to my colleague and take my rest for the day? What is expected? How does it operate? Just throw a little more light on this, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that question. Basically, what I was explaining at that particular time is we're talking about, responding to emergency. We're not talking about normal situation. Take, for example, you've completed your shift, you took your bag, and the emergency alarm goes off. Anything that involves emergency alarm, whether in the general setting or mental, if it's mental health setting, maybe a patient, maybe a staff, is being attacked. And if it's in general setting, maybe someone was just collapsing that needed resuscitation. Are you saying in the middle of that, you are comfortable to pick your bag and just walk past through those people? Because they needed more resources. If someone is dying, you need someone to bring defib, you need this, So in that situation, you need the nurse in charge on the floor to actually allow you to go, to say, look, we have enough resources here, you can go. Otherwise, as a nurse, you have actually, they will accuse you that you have contributed, to the issue, how will I put it, that you have failed in your duty of care to this particular patient. Because you didn't even know whether they had enough staff to deal with what they are dealing with. Are you getting me? Because you are preoccupied with, I've finished my shift, I'm going. Are you getting me? And let me bust your bubble with that question. Do you know in this country as well, when something happens on the main road, because this example I was about to give will enable you to understand, what I was trying to say in respect of your question. If there's something happening on the main road and you are going and you actually have your nursing uniform on and someone just collapsed there and you walked away from that collapsed patient when nobody was attending to that patient, you can lose your pain for that. You don't know this person from Adam. You just saw that, people saw you with a nursing uniform and someone collapsed, everybody was going, he's dying, welcome, please call the ambulance. And you had your uniform on and you just walked away, passed through that. If people were able to get your name, you can't lose your registration for that. You don't know this patient from Adam. So if you look at that example I've just given you, then now talking about on your ward, where you were about to leave the ward, the emergency alarm, which people do not pull for granted. They pull it when someone is dying, when someone is about to die, when they are dealing with emergency crisis, or if it's in mental health, maybe someone was being cornered, a fellow patient was being attacked, or a member of staff, and you think the right thing to do at that particular time is to walk away because you've just completed 12-hour shift. No, there's a problem. So that's the way it's being seen. So I'm not giving you the normal situation. Normal situation, you've handed over, you are going. You leave because you've handed over. But we're talking about where the emergency alarm has been pulled or had been pulled. Then you need to be more inquisitive to know whether you are still needed before you can leave. That's why I say this job is not about, oh, I've completed my 12-hour shift. It doesn't work that way. What is happening on the world will determine whether you can live or not. And I don't know whether you joined from the beginning. All the examples I've given today are related to people I've actually represented at the NMC. They are live, actual examples of things that happen to people. It's not something you can read in the book. I actually represented people that had gone through that just, because of those examples I'd given, that they left LA and all sorts of things. And in the middle of emergency crisis, they said because they had completed their shift, but they were still on the ward and they didn't respond and nobody asked them to leave, and they left. And by so doing, they believed they had put the patient at the risk of harm, because they didn't know what was going on with that patient. They didn't know whether more staff would be required, more support would be required, before they left. So that's that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbey. And do we have any other question?
Yes, I was still raising my hand.
Okay, quickly, please.
Mr. Samuel, that might be the last question I could
Yes,
take.
yes, I think that is it.
Yes. Yeah. But before answering that question, people can send their questions to you, then I can find time to respond to that later, if there are other things. But I will answer this, this next question, and then I can move on.
Thank you very much. Okay, the last question, please.
Thank you very much, Dr.
You're welcome.
So my question is, the issue of custom practice.
I can't hear you properly, though.
Please, can you speak louder?
Handling the issue of custom practices. Let's say you get to an NHS and you make a practice that your colleague has been used to. Let's say, okay, go for 3 hours break or go for 2 hours break, and it's not ideal. How do you not handle it? How do you explain to your colleague, oh, please, I don't want to go for this break, or we should stop this practice, it's not good? Are you not going to now bring conflict between your colleagues? How then do you handle being a position?
Okay, have you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a good question, actually, because at the end of the day, you are working as part of a team, is what I mean. So it's very important. So good question. Now, the best way to deal with that kind of situation is that to be a bit diplomatic, by say when you are being given 3 hours break, you just tell them, look, what's it called? Even if I go for break, I don't actually sleep because I sleep well at home. I would like to maintain my 1 hour because, I mean, that would be too boring for me to stay in the staff room for 3 hours. But you just be diplomatic with it, because you have to still work with these people. Are you getting me? So I'm not going to encourage you to be confrontational with them. Say, oh, no, this is not allowed. I don't want to be party to this. No. You just, go there and say, look, I usually sleep very well at home. That 1 hour is okay for me. I will come out after 1 hour so that other people can go for their break. Because don't forget what I said to you earlier on, that everybody as a nurse is responsible and accountable for his practice and omission. So if people are using 3 hours, they are solely responsible, accountable, for their decision, not you. But if you've gone for 1 hour, that's it. You are covered. So that's the way you can deal with the situation without rocking the boat with your colleagues.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbey. I think that should wrap it up. Please, if anybody have any question, you can send it to me via email. I'll send it to Dr. Abbey and we'll get response back. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Abbey. This was really very insightful, and it has really opened our eyes, and I'm happy a lot of persons joined this conversation. I think we could wrap it up. Let me know. We spoke the last time. I know you have other engagements, so I think we can let you leave now. Thank you very much, Dr. Abbey.
But before leaving, I just want to thank all the people, also all the attendees, for taking their time to be part of this. Because if they are not here, we can't do anything. So I want to say big thanks to you, and I'm so glad that you find it very helpful. I want to say a big thank you to Samuel as well, for the initiative to pull this together, and then hopefully we'll continue to work together. I see this as a great privilege and honor, to be part of this initiative. So thank you all, and have a very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for joining, those who joined on Zoom and those who joined on YouTube. Thank you very much for your time. And then we'll come back again next month with another topic and a knowledgeable personnel to discuss a topic like this that will ensure that we stay and thrive here in UK. And we'll try and get someone to come share his journey to the UK. So please, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, True Talk with Sam, so you get notifications on when we are getting this event started again. Okay, then after now, the recordings for Dr. Abbey will be posted on YouTube, so you can, those who came and who did not attend on time can actually go back and watch this. Thank you very much for your time, guys, and hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
I've said mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining.